Hello, everyone. Another evening after a long day of work. Here I am, narrating Pokemon games. Not salty at all, really. There's nothing I'd rather be doing. Can't think of a damn thing I'd rather be doing than narrating fucking RBY. Sorry, let me try that again. Welcome back to Callus Crew Challenge number 2. It is the round of 16, and it is Xray and Marcop. These are two extremely sought after, highly regarded players who are going to sell for 20k north in SPL if they are playing their main tiers. Could be very north, but this is not, at least on paper, the main tier for either of them. Certainly not for one. Marco is probably more known for ADV or DPP. But I think RBY is arguably his best tier. It's definitely not worse than his second best tier. Xray, on the other hand, I'm sure he's played it at some point. I think he told me privately that he's played maybe 24 RBY games ever, which is something. But I've never actually seen him play an RBY game in my life. He's just a generally very good Pokemon player. So I give him credit. But Marco, I think, is very good at this gen, and I seldom see Marco lose in RBY. He's pretty damn reliable. Xray, we'll see what we get. I should also mention this is potentially for the match here. Should Xray get the victory, or am I making that up? I think I might be making that up, actually. Let me go look. I might be confusing my teams. Yeah, this is for the match, potentially. Ima has already defeated Chaitanya in a Gen 9 battle. So if Xray is to achieve victory here, which I think he's the underdog to do, that'll be that. And the Gator Guild will be through to the next round, eliminating the Sad Little Men. But should Marcop win here, and like I said, I think he's the favorite to do so, then it's going to force a GSC matchup between Conflict for the Gator Guild and Elodin for the Sad Little Men, which you would think that Conflict, being a longtime mainer, would have the advantage in. I feel that my pregame ramble has gone on a little too long, and I don't feel like doing a retake. You're fucking stuck with it, but let's start the game. Best of 3. Xray on the bottom, Marco, Marcop, Gilbert Arenas, whatever you please, is on the top. It is 2 of the most common leads in the tier, in Starmie and Gengar, but there is an immediate switch. Starmie being paralyzed, as we have discussed in previous RBY videos, is both good and bad. Having him on paralyzed, unless you have like guts or something, is not a good thing. But it being paralyzed protects it from being frozen, and there are many Mons, Chansey itself, Starmie, Cloyster, Lapras, Tauros even sometimes, Lax even sometimes, many Mons in this gen that are going to fling ice attacks at you and fish for those freezes, and freeze is backbreaking in RBY because the Mons aren't going to thaw. So, you at least protect your Chansey from that potential issue by getting it paralyzed. There's an Ice Beam, but not a freeze. Convenient. There's a good crit for Xray. Body Slam on Gar is not where he wants to be, though. As he's shown, he hasn't shown anything but Body Slam, so we don't actually know if the Lax can touch the Gar. It sometimes will carry Earthquake. It sometimes, more rarely, can be Amnesia, which is like a double Calm Mind in this gen. And then a couple of special moves, Ice Beam certainly being one of them. And other times it can be mono. It can be Rest, Reflect, Body Slam, Hyper Beam, Rest, Reflect, Body Slam, Boom, things to that effect. It had a couple opportunities there, and it Body Slammed into the Gar twice, which certainly makes it look like it couldn't touch it. Now it doesn't matter because the Gar traded with the Chansey via Boom, which in this gen is virtually always a good trade for the Gar player because Chansey is simply a better and higher tier Mon in RBY than Gengar is. But it sure looked like the Lax didn't have a move to touch the Gar. Maybe we'll find out later. For now, we've got ourselves a 4-4, and we've got a bull mirror match here. Marco got a crit, Xray didn't, but he's still going to get out of the way, anticipating Hyper Beam. However, Xray is going to get the crit that he would have wanted there to kill the Alakazam, and he won't have to recharge, because if you kill something with Hyper Beam, you don't recharge in this gen, which is a pretty spiffy mechanic in this situation. So out of the way he goes. Relatively fast RBY game. Xray had a chance for a crit kill there. He also had a chance to win the speed tie, but neither of those things are going to occur for him. And he's now going to opt for Substitute as Reflect comes down. But as it turns out, the Reflect will not save the Lax. So just a good turn for Xray, getting that Substitute basically for free. And 2 Earthquakes later, and Marco's down to 1 poke. However, I think it's the 1 poke that he needs, because now pending a 1 in 256 glitch, which as we see does not happen here, it's just 2 Surfs, and he cleans up. Like I said, Xray would have needed a 1 in 256 dodge there that he did not get. So, Marco going to take game 1, a relatively close game 1, and Xray had his chances there. If he had gotten a crit on the Lax when it came in, if he had won the Lax speed tie, it could have gone differently there. Xray was in it. RBY, unfortunately, not to say there's no skill in it, because there clearly is. But RBY, of course, has a lot of variance, and little things, speed ties, whatever, really matter sometimes. This is one of those games where it could have gone totally different had Xray won that 1 turn of the Lax speed tie. So who knows? But that's not the way it played out, and Marco, as anticipated, does take game 1, but it's best of 3. Xray can still rally back. Let's move to game 2. Before we get into game 2, let me quickly say, if you guys want to see the Fairy Gens, the matches that are not going to be shown on YouTube, please join the Discord server. Link in the description if you want to do that. Everybody's welcome. Cool environment. You can chat with the players, follow the tournament live, all that. Other thing you can do in the Discord server is donate. Nobody's obligated to do so. Our prize pool is getting pretty good, 700 and change. I really want to get to 900, which we're pretty close to, so I can pay 300 each or more to each member of the winning team. If you do want to donate, it is via a PayPal link. It's fast. It's anonymous if you want it to be. PayPal takes a very small chunk. Everything else goes into the prize pool. I don't keep anything. And that is the bread and butter. That is the essence of what makes these tournaments possible. I could not do this without your continued support and donations. We've had several generous audience members, spectators, fans, whatever you want to call yourselves, step up to the plate. It's super duper important, and it's super duper appreciated. So thank you to everyone who has donated so far. I sincerely appreciate you. If we can get just 1 or 2 more, we'll be over the targeted goal and we'll be in business. Let's get back to the match at hand. Like I said, if Xray manages to pull this match out, his team is through to the round of 8. If Marco wins, there's going to be a 3rd match, GSC Conflict versus Alolan. Switch those sides for continuity. Xray on the bottom, Marco on the top. 2 of the 4 most common leads, Jinx, Starmie, Gengar, and some other poke, Alakazam. And there's some switcheroonies after both status effects, T-Wave and Lovely Kiss land. Body Slam comes down. Quick note, I go over quirky RBY mechanics in basically every single RBY video, but the quick note in this case is that Body Slam is never going to paralyze another normal poke. Thunderbolt is never going to paralyze another electric poke, so on and so forth. Quirky thing that one of the many weird things that happened when they were programming RBY. It was a dark time. I was literally in elementary school when these games came out, and I'm now 33 and I've been married for 5 years. It feels like a lifetime ago. So here we are, Lax on Lax. Body Slam times 2. Xray going to get Reflect up, and he's not going to play games. He's just going to click Rest. At this point, Marco gets his own Reflect up before he resumes Body Slamming. The damage without a crit is pretty unexciting now, 12 and then 13%. Unfortunately, a lot of the time in this gen, the best counter to Lax is Lax. So you get these situations where they both just sit there body slamming each other and nothing actually happens. It's just the way this gen is. There just isn't a fantastic Lax switch in with the way that the tier is. Basically, what you just saw is what tends to happen. They tucker each other out, and when one of them rests, that's your opportunity to switch. Start bombarding it with psychics or whatever. Try to get a specs drop, you force it out, yada yada. But that's pretty much the way the tier works. We very well may see Lax on Lax again a little bit later. So here's Xray getting his in, trying to kill sleep turns. He wakes up, and he gets out of the way there because he doesn't want to get hit with a sleep powder. He wants to be able to control and know with certainty when it is he's going to be waking up, rather than at the mercy of an opponent's induced sleep, which, you know, could be a turn or two, but it could also be 3 or 4 turns, and that's a long damn sleep. And of course, Marco didn't go for sleep powder, he just clicked psychic, but that's the reason that Xray switched there. And he's probably going to do it again. He doesn't want to get hit with sleep powder. Marco keeps not doing that, going for psychic on the switch. He may not even have sleep powder. He showed psychic and stun spore, but more than almost anything else in this tier, Executor does have a bit of foo. What the hell is foo? 4 move slot syndrome. It's got like 7, 8 moves, maybe even 9 moves that it wants to carry, and it just doesn't have room for it all. Hey, there's Xray making some ground. He gets a crit, and the other guy's paralyzed, and he's not, so he was really threatening the Lax there. Executor, again, is going to check it, and this one feels like it's already about the length of where the other one finished, or I don't think it's longer quite yet, but it's going to be longer because it's 40-something turns, and we're still looking at a 6-6. Now, granted, Starmie with a bad specs drop and full para there, and now Jinx getting hit with Psychic as well, so some of Xray's stuff is starting to get beat up. This is a pretty close game. I'm not sure who has the advantage, but like I said, some of the stuff for Xray is rather low. Jinx is going to have to rest here. Had it been crit there, it actually would have died, but there's the rest and the soft-boiled respectively. Xray going to opt to kill a sleep turn, and then Bull comes in for Marco. Xray, for the second game in a row, has opted to bring Rhydon. It's going to get paralyzed here and then hit with a Blizzard. EQ back is a good chunk, 41%, but Tauros here with the Blizzard is going to do even more, and Rhydon was not that effective this game. First knockout occurs, and it goes the way of Marco. However, that leaves Xray with the significantly healthier Bull, and he wins the Bull speed tie there. So Marco loses Tauros, which is an important mon, and Xray's Tauros is still pretty healthy on the other side. So yeah, it's not an awful position right now for Xray. He's really, for someone who has played a fraction of the RBY that I know that Marco has played over the years, Xray is actually putting up a pretty good fight. He could send us to a Game 3 here. It's really too early to call, especially in this tier, but having the Bull pretty healthy, whereas Marco just doesn't have a Bull at all, is pretty good. But this is pretty, yeah, I mean, this is amateur-ish, keeping it in that long. He was begging for exactly what he got. When you give him that many opportunities and you're not switching, you're eventually going to get frozen. And that's exactly what occurs. And now he goes to Starmie as fodder only for Rhydon to sub up in his face. So frozen Chansey down, and Xray has largely given up his lead now. Earthquake pops the sub, but he's going to have to eat an EQ back and hope to not get crit, which he doesn't. Blizzard here looking for a crit or a freeze, which he doesn't get. Now he loses Bull, and now Xray has literally lost his lead because Marco, and I'm surprised Marco doesn't click Earthquake there, but Marco has flat out caught up and got himself the Pokemon advantage. I think letting the Chansey get frozen was pretty bad and super avoidable. He let those ice beams, I'm not sure how many there were, 3, 4, 5, however many in a row. Eventually you're going to get frozen. He just kind of let it happen. And that is probably the turning point here. Now Xray is super in trouble. 2 pokes against 4. And Executor just gets a crit right there too. So another one for good measure. But he was boned at that point. And there's the concession. My, how quickly things can change. This game looked pretty reasonable for Xray at one point, but the turning point, like I said, is just sitting there letting the Chansey take the Ice Beams. I don't know what he thought was going to happen. Was he trying to PP stall him out of Ice Beam? He had 12 more. It would have taken quite some time and really good luck to eat that amount of Ice Beams without ever freezing. It can happen, but I mean, is that really the best strategy? Is that really what you want to be doing? Just trying to eat 16 Ice Beams without ever being frozen? Probably not the play, and certainly did not work out this time. So, there were some close moments. Game 1, closer than this one. But ultimately, the result is what most of you and myself would have expected here. Marco going to take out Xray. It's going to be a 2-0 in this case. And that is going to force a third match between these teams. Like I said, it's going to be Conflict and Elodin in some GSC action. That has not happened yet as of Friday evening, the 3rd, I believe it is, which is the time of this recording. But the deadline for the round is at the end of Sunday, so I don't know exactly when they scheduled for, but presumably they're going to play pretty soon. That'll be on the channel, so I hope you guys look forward to that. In the meantime, please do consider hitting the like button and the subscribe button if you enjoy the content and want to follow the tour. I appreciate you guys watching. I will see you in the next video.